She Said, He Said is sponsored by Times Media Company and Lee Enterprises. Our show is recorded each week at Creative Space Place Studios in Hobart, Indiana.
You're listening to She Said, He Said with Karen and Jerry Davidge, a potpourri of everything that has to do with relationships and the baggage that comes with it, because there's a lot to unpack. On today's show, we talk with Matt and Carrie Ann Valukas, who share their amusing backstory, how they first met and later fell in love. Like most couples, they remember it well.
Unlike most couples, Matt and Carrie Ann met at a college party on New Year's Eve, 1995, when he was a douche, his word, not mine, and she didn't talk to him again for 9 years until another New Year's Eve party when he was not as douchey, his word again.
Matt and Carrie Ann, welcome to She Said, He Said. So you made a post on New Year's Eve about how you two met, and it was a very interesting story. You had one version, you had another version. So let's put the two versions together. And who's going to start?
I will start.
Please.
So I was a senior in high school, 17, and I had a new best friend who had just transferred to our school that year, and she really wanted to see her old friends from Bishop Knoll for New Year's Eve. So she begged me to drive her to a party, and I said sure, because I didn't have anything to do. And I had just broken up with my boyfriend, so I was heartbroken. I'm like, yeah, I'll just do something else. And drive her to this party, and within 5 minutes of being in the door, she disappeared.
Oh.
That's a party.
Not cool.
Disappeared, and I'm just stuck in a room with a bunch of people I didn't know, and I was like a shiny penny. And this was one of the people who liked the shiny penny very much. And at midnight, he said, I've been wanting to do this all night. And he grabbed my face and kissed me. And as a 17-year-old, that had never happened to me before. I was like, oh my gosh, a cute guy just kissed me for no reason.
It's a movie.
It was a movie moment for my brain, So when he wanted to go for a walk, and it was cold, and we went in my car, it was like all these like little romantic hearts all over me. And then I realized, nope. Red flags flying all over the place. This guy wants way more than
It's like Paradise by the Dashboard Lights, huh?
Yes. And I didn't want him to love me forever. We just met. So.
That's right.
But that was my memory of it. And after 2 hours of making out in a car, we went back into the party, and he grabs me around the waist, whispers in my ear, by the way, nothing happened, and walked over to this other girl and put his arm around her. And I just stood there frozen like, oh my God, he has a girlfriend.
Which he didn't, but he did. At that point, I'm 19 years old. I was with this.
Douche. See? Douche.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, total. It was a total. Can we say douche? Is that allowed? Is it?
He said it in the intro.
All right, cool. I was doing a lot of theater at the time. We had just done Godspell at Genesius Guild that past summer, and a lot of the people that were in the play, we were all hanging out. We had nothing to do. So New Year's Eve, a friend of mine threw a party in her basement. And there was an on-again, off-again girl that I was with. Carrie Ann shows up at this party, and this adorable redhead. She had the best smile, and when she smiles, like her cheeks just kind of like puff up, and it's just adorable. And her eyes kind of squint just a little bit. And to see her across the room, I was just very smitten to her, and I was drawn to her. And
you had a better pickup line than Marty.
And I don't even remember going up to Carrie Ann or saying anything, but I do remember talking to her and flirting with her. And at midnight, I kissed her. And I asked if she wanted to go for a walk, hoping that we could find someplace secluded and make out and see where things went. I didn't know that, she was 17, a senior in high school, 2 years younger than I. I didn't really have all that information. I just knew there was this really hot girl at a college-ish party.
Details,
yeah, it was fine.
Age, whatever.
Oh, whatever. It's fine. She's consensual. She's here. She's hanging out. She had a drink.
Yeah, it's love.
It's love.
She wasn't that consensual.
No. But so we make it out to her car, and I remember at the time she was driving a Saab. And I don't even remember going up to Carrie Ann or saying anything, but I do remember talking to her and flirting with her. And at midnight, I kissed her. And I asked if she wanted to go for a walk, hoping that we could find someplace secluded and make out and see where things went. I didn't know that, she was 17, a senior in high school, 2 years younger than I. I didn't really have all that information. I just knew there was this really hot girl at a college-ish party.
Details,
yeah, it was fine.
Age, whatever.
Oh, whatever. It's fine. She's consensual. She's here. She's hanging out. She had a drink.
Yeah, it's love.
It's love.
She wasn't that consensual.
No. But so we make it out to her car, and I remember at the time she was driving a Saab. I didn't know that she'd just broken up with her boyfriend. But at the end of 2 hours, I hadn't gotten anywhere, and
2 hours.
2 hours.
That's
We
a lot
made
of
effort.
effort.
That's
It was a
what
lot
I
of
was
effort.
gonna
That's
say.
a lot of defensive efforts.
But
on
it
Carrie Ann.
wasn't like
But
it wasn't like and correct me if I'm wrong, but it wasn't like I was pushing you to do anything you didn't want to do. We were making out when we were having fun. There was just a certain area you weren't going to go past, and I kept pushing it. But it wasn't like I should get out of here because he's a rapey ass dude or anything like that.
No.
Rapey,
It was high school making out.
Yeah.
It was
Right.
just
Okay.
And you
he
drew a line in the sand.
And I drew
Yes.
a line, and he tried twice to get past the line, and I said no, and then it stopped.
2 hours later, we walked back into the party, and the on again, off again girl was there. And because I didn't get anywhere with Carrie Ann, I'm like, well, I'm going to try
Sure
and
thing.
get somewhere with
Got a
that
sure
one.
thing there.
And I went and I leaned to Carrie and I said, nothing happened. And I walked away and ignored Carrie for the rest of the night. Now, in a nice turn of fate, I didn't get anywhere with the on again, off again either because,
They fought again.
we fought again. It was off again, but that's fine. I didn't deserve it. Like looking back, I didn't deserve any
Yeah,
of that.
exactly.
But that's how we met. As a 19-year-old kid, my mentality. I'm going to be 47 on Monday. A very different mentality now than I was at 19. But that's who I was.
Sure.
I
And
appreciate that, Matt.
Yeah,
because a lot of us don't say that.
I went away to college in Illinois.
Your life resumed. You didn't
My
think
life.
about Matt.
He was the jerk that from
Of
the
course.
we crossed paths for about 3 months after that. For the
Oh,
rest of your
really?
high school
Yeah,
career.
just my friend had dragged me to another party, and I found out he was going to be there, and I left. Like little things
Rightly
like that.
so.
So when I was in college, I was a theater major, and during my senior year, I had a set collapse out from under me. And I got such horrible head trauma that I lost my short-term memory.
Whoa.
So I forgot most of high school, most of junior, like all those
No
little
kidding.
things. But he stayed.
Oh my
He was
God.
locked in my long-term memory for some reason because I think of the pain of, this big high, moment of, oh, it's like a movie to, oh my God, I hate this guy.
Yeah.
So when I moved back to Indiana in my 20s, I was 23, I was like 26, I think, 26. And I was in a show, and my friends were like, oh, yeah, we all went to Bishop Knoll. I'm like, oh, yeah, I had a friend who went to Bishop Knoll. Her name was Nikki. She transferred to Crown Point, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, oh, yeah, we know her. And I'm like, yeah, she took me to this party one
Oh, my
time.
God. Here it
And I
comes.
met this horrible guy named Matt Valukas.
Oh,
And this
my
one girl
God.
looks at me, she goes, I know Matt Valukas. And I kind of stood there for a second. I'm like, oh, I hate him. And
He's
she
a jerk.
And she's like, I think he's coming to see the show. And I'm like, you are not to tell him that you know me, that I've ever met him. And immediately is like, who's the redhead? Who's the redhead? And my friend Jen is like, I'm not telling you.
Yeah, so I go to see this. A lot of the same friends that were in Godspell with me in '95, we all still do theater together. And
That's 2004.
this is 2004. So 9 years later, and I go and see all of my friends in the show. And really cute redhead is on stage. And I'm smitten again with this redhead. Don't realize it's her, though.
Wait.
I don't. 9 years have passed.
Didn't
I do.
know
I,
it was you again.
I
Didn't
didn't.
know who
I
I
just knew there was
was.
this
I
beautiful
knew who he
redhead
was.
in the show.
You knew
who he was.
instantly when you saw him. That was
Instantly. I knew
Matt.
he was coming. They told me what night he
Did
was
he
coming.
look the same, Carrie Ann?
Pretty
Essentially?
much.
Okay.
Essentially, he was.
A little fatter.
He didn't have all the beard. He had a lot of hair. The
Lot
first
of
time,
hair.
long hair, beard, all of that.
Oh,
He
a
didn't
lot of
have any
hair.
of that.
Oh,
So, but it was really funny because we went out after the show. The whole cast goes out, and he sits next to me, and I'm just like, "Who did this to me?"
Yeah.
Yeah, so we go out to what was the Bennigans on 41 in Cherville there.
Oh boy.
And my friends are laughing because he had set it up, so he was next to me.
And I do because I'm sitting and I'm talking to her and I'm flirting with her and I'm like, so what about this and what about that? And she was conversational, but
Sure.
she was very standoffish.
Of course.
And like, okay, I don't know her. The following weekend, my band was playing in Cherville. And the entire show decided to come out and check out the band after. So on a set break, she was standing in the back, and I'm very surprised she came, to be perfectly honest, knowing everything I know now. That
Intrigued.
yeah, during
the
set
cast
break,
was
I go over and I say hi to the cast, and I go over and I'm talking with Carrie Ann, and she finally looks at me. She's like, "You have no idea who I am, do you?" And the way she said it,
And he goes, "Well, I know you were friends with Nikki Parker," and then
And then
it was
I-
like a wall hit him in the face.
Really?
and then I was like, "Wait, did you drive a Saab?" That's
That's the girl with the sun.
Did you have a dusty dashboard?
Yeah.
Right.
yeah, and she's
And
like,
his
"Yeah."
head just went, and he goes, "I was such a."
I'm such an a-hole to you. And she's like, yeah, you were. And I'm like, I am so sorry. And found out she was dating a guy, but she had moved back to Indiana. She was living in Highland right behind the visitor center. I was living in Whiting at the time. And I don't even remember how we became from there to become friends. I think we just started, like I showed up at a play. You went to go see Bridget with Sam, and I ended up coming with you. I don't remember.
Yeah, we just started hanging out.
Hanging out.
We had a lot in common. We liked the same kind of movies. It was like, hey, do you want to go see a movie? He was playing a solo gig, and he's like, I don't think anybody's going to come. And I'm like, well, I'll come. And so I sat at the bar and watched his gig and just, had a drink and watched him play. And he's like, thank you. I didn't think I was going to know anybody. And it was just little things like that, and we just became friends. But there was always like a ridiculous amount of comfort together. Like I'm a firm believer that your dogs know people better than you do. My dogs adored him.
Aww.
From the minute they met him. Like he came in and he sat on the couch and they were both on top of him. Like, we love you, you can stay. So there was always a comfort with him. And we kind of just coaxed each other through our relationships. Like, are you okay? Is everything okay?
Yeah, I started dating a girl because once I found out that she had a boyfriend and we were friends again, I didn't want to screw it up this time because talking with her, she was so enjoyable, so comfortable to talk to. We laughed about the same things. We kind of knew the same like music and even had these like instant inside jokes that like it was effortless and it was wonderful. So I dated a girl or two in that time, and she was dating I dated Carrie and Holly in that time. But it was nothing like
There was a Sherry in there. briefly.
there was,
There
but
was
it wasn't.
a girl or three, whatever. Yeah.
But I mean, it wasn't like.
His relationships were very like dating, whereas mine was more of like a serious relationship.
Sure.
This is my boyfriend,
Right.
things like that. And it was just, I didn't know that I really wanted to be in my relationship any longer because it had become long distance and kind of awkward. And he didn't know if the tumultuousness with the girls that he was with was what he wanted. So we kind of coached each other through, like, well, if you're not happy, get out of it. And by Christmas that year, we were both single.
So was there a spark or an evolution? How did you guys actually romantically intertwine?
It's New Year's Eve again.
Oh, here we go.
It is.
It's like when Harry met Sally.
So
Nice.
again, so that New Year's Eve in 1995, 17 and 19, we first met.
Right.
2005, 2000 into 2006.
Correct. So it is
27
now
and 29.
that it's literally 10 years later to the day on New Year's Eve from when we met to us going out. And I was invited to go out on New Year's Eve with a buddy of mine and his girlfriend. I just didn't have anything to do, and they were going to have dinner and go to Northwoods and watch a band. And they're like, why don't you just come along? I'm like, all right. Well, I knew that she was single, and I'm like, I really don't want to be a third wheel, and I think we'd have a blast. Just come with me. Let's go to dinner. Let's have a couple of drinks and just hang out. So we did. And we're at Northwoods, and they do the countdown. And the last time I kissed her on New Year's Eve, I screwed up. I wasn't going to do it again. I'd gotten to the point that I cherished her friendship more than any chance that could potentially be taken because I didn't want to ruin it.
Of course.
So I just clinked her glass and I said, Happy New Year. And that was it. That's where I was going. That's where I was going to leave it.
Classy.
And I looked at him and I said, that's it?
Oh, really?
And I grabbed
I'm
his
getting
shirt.
all the tingles. I am.
And I did. I totally put my drink down and grabbed his shirt collar and I kissed him.
Oh,
Like in a movie again, Carrie
Yeah.
Ann.
So our
So
first
our first kiss and our second first kiss.
are literally 10 years
To the minute.
to midnight. Wow. And it's wonderful. So
It's our happy
yeah,
And 2 years later on New Year's Eve, he proposed to me in our new home that we had just bought.
After this quick break, we will learn how another couple met and then re-met. We promise that their story is so unique that even they don't believe it.
Today our guest is Lisette Guillen. Who is it?
Woo!
Lisette, please,
Yes.
for our viewers and listeners,
Okay.
just tell us about yourself for a second.
Can I tell the story real
Please,
quick?
Yeah.
please.
That's why I
please.
asked.
Yeah.
In 1991, I went on my first cruise. It was a family cruise. It was summer vacation. My husband had been just started working for the cruise line. He's from Belize originally.
You were
Just
married at the time.
No, I was 16.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So we were
Okay,
just,
gotcha. Okay.
we were on a family vacation.
Okay,
We went on
gotcha.
this
All right.
cruise. And I saw this guy, and I was like, okay. Because everywhere I go, I'd see this guy. And I'm like,
This
okay.
guy.
Yeah. And then one time, then finally he came up and talked to me because I think I was sitting on the deck by myself and he came and talked to me and it was instant love. Like I fell in love and I didn't know that was real, but it's real.
At
Yeah.
16.
Yes, but wait a minute, it goes on.
It gets better.
There's
but
more.
wait, there's more. Okay.
But wait, there's more.
So we, back, you only could write letters or pay phones. So
Oh,
he'd call
God,
me
yeah.
from like Puerto Rico or when he got to Miami and docked and stuff. And we kept in touch for like, he even came to Chicago to visit a couple times, a couple summers. And then like as I got older and he got older, we just kind of went our different ways because it was
sure.
too hard.
Like in
yeah.
your 20s you're talking now?
Yeah, yes.
Okay,
Yep,
okay,
yep.
okay.
And then it's been almost 10 years now. And
Wait, 10 years since after you met?
Well,
that
no,
what
10
you
years
mean?
ago from now.
Okay.
So we had been apart all this time, hadn't seen him. And I was going through a divorce, and so was he, unbeknownst to each other. And he found me on Facebook.
No way.
Yeah. And then, it was like...
He's right over there.
oh my gosh. And so I'm like, oh my gosh. So we just started, and it was like back like nothing ever happened.
What?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
What was his lead in? Do you remember what he said? Hey.
Remember me?
No, he called, and I knew, well, he's got this accent
Yeah,
from the
we can
Caribbean
hear
that's
it, yeah.
very, you just know. And
Are you going to say seductive?
yeah, but you know
Is
what?
that the word you were going to use? It sounded like it's right there.
No, it's
it
not
wasn't
very
moist.
seductive. No, it's like a Caribbean, let's, yaman type thing.
Okay, I got you. All right.
Yaman type thing. But our first date, though, when I was little, was a butterfly farm in Jamaica.
What? Like anybody's first date.
As one does.
Yeah. Or you go to like
First
House of
dates.
Pizza like we did or
not
something.
You guys
No,
have
House of Pizza and Hammond, man.
Yeah, right. I want to have us do a future podcast on relationships and especially people getting together later in life with a new appreciation of things.
Oh my
Because that
gosh.
20-year gap that you guys had, hypothetically, whatever it would have
Yeah.
been, it gave you perspective of a lot of things, I'm guessing. And I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if you or if we would stay together if we met earlier. Sometimes we go, wow, if we just met earlier in life, it'd be so much better. We'd have all these more years together.
Yep.
I don't know if you'd want me 5 years earlier
You know
or 5
what?
minutes earlier than she met me. I don't know.
Yeah. No, you're right. We talk about that, but I don't think I'd be where I'm at or he would be. Who
No,
knows?
without a doubt.
Because it takes someone like him, because my schedule's so crazy and the things that I sometimes bring home and I don't want to talk about, it takes a person like him with his mature, the way he thinks, his maturity level on things, and just the way he is to deal with somebody like me. I don't know if we grew together doing it, if it would have worked.
Right.
So I think later on in life, meeting is probably what our best bet was.
When you woke up that morning, did you know you were going to meet the love of your life?
We always wonder that with couples, how they met, when they met. Did they know they were going to meet? Was it planned? Wasn't serendipity? Was it an accident?
Yeah.
And I'm not sure. So couples have asked us the same question. How did you meet? And we trace it back. I mean, initially, Karen was a reader of mine, correct?
I was. We go back to probably 2006. And one night, I'll never forget, I was sitting on the couch and the house was a mess. The TV was on. There was a lot of chaos. And then there was a headline about old motels. And that
Sounds familiar.
piqued my
That's my
interest.
wheelhouse.
That piqued
Old
my
motels.
Old motels. What? So I read
Remember
this,
writing that.
I read this column and I'm like, wow, that is such an interesting story. Who wrote that? Oh, he's kind of good looking, that Jerry Davich. So
How do you pronounce his name back then? Davidge, whatever.
I thought it was Davich.
close
So I would read his columns because it was a couple of times a week. So anyway, I would always start my mornings back then saying, what does Jerry Davich have to say to me today?
Oh,
Because you weren't in the paper every day. So I'd
Right.
always get a little bummed, But now we fast forward to 2007.
Okay.
And my mother was ill, and she was now my kids and my mother and I have just moved into this house in Valparaiso. Then in August of that year, we had a very bad storm.
Oh, yeah.
And our power went out. And it was only 8 homes in this small grid. They all came to help us. And I had to find a way to thank our neighbors. And I remember, hey, that guy in the paper, he writes these really good feel-good stories.
I get that a lot. That guy in the paper.
Maybe.
That guy in the
I remember
paper.
sitting there on the couch telling my mom, there's this guy in the paper, his name's Jerry Davich, and I think he will write a nice story if I send him an email. So I sent him an email asking him if you could thank my neighbors, and he still has that email.
I do.
Mm-hmm.
I do.
And so the next thing we knew, he wrote me back, said, hey, this is a great story. What are the names of your neighbors? Like, oh my God, he wrote me back. He printed my story, and we still have the actual paper.
Crazy, isn't it?
I know. So
Fast forward again.
Fast forward again. You did a story about the bike trails.
Oh my God. So I was trying to figure out if I can bicycle across Northwest Indiana. And I didn't know if I can do it from like Beverly Shores to Crown Point or something.
Right.
So I tried all by myself. Me and 2 water bottles. I had some pack of food, whatever it may, get on my crappy bike and I try to go across the region. And I did eventually, but it was horrible. I went 60 miles.
Wow.
I got turned around. I got lost.
Oh my gosh.
There was no good signage.
No.
I didn't know how to get through the trails, how to get through towns. It was not the best experience. So afterward, I thought, I'm going to write about this. And I did write about it. And it was
Yes.
like, who the heck creates these bike trail systems in Northwest Indiana? Because just a regular Joe like me, could not get through them. And I thought, I'll just write about it like I do anything else. So I did write about it.
So I read it, and I know who is in charge of the bike trails. That's my
this?
brother, Mitch.
Oh, coincidentally.
So I got him on the phone. I said, hey, this guy
in the paper.
that Jerry Davich, he's a
boy.
very influential writer. He wrote a bad story about the bike trails. You better get back to him. And Mitch was like, yeah.
But he did. He did get back at me, yeah. So Mitch suggested to me that, well, I'll teach you and I'll show you how to turn left here, turn right there, how to get through all the bike trails and how to get through cities and towns. So we created what called a region ride.
Right.
It was one of 2 or 3 that I created. And we had a region ride. I invited my readers to join us on this region ride from Beverly Shores to Lansing.
Yep.
And I had a few
Yes,
dozen
you
readers
did.
actually show up on their bikes that morning. Could not believe it. I turned the corner with my bike and the guy dropped me off and I go, I can't believe people actually are joining me for this. I just could not. I thought it'd be just me and Mitch. And we would stop after like 3 miles and go, well, our knees are sore,
we're
we're
done,
done.
yeah.
But all these people joined us. So we went on the
It
bike.
was a journey. So, and where I pick up the stories, I had to work that morning. So I told Mitch, I will meet you in Griffith. And so I get off work. I struggle to get the bikes in the car. My mother is begging me to just stay home. And I felt compelled.
What did she say?
Oh, Karen, just stay home. Because she could see I was having trouble getting these bikes in
Was
my
she
car.
really British or just imitated
No,
British?
she really was
Oh,
British.
she
She
is
was born and
British.
raised in
Okay.
London.
Oh,
She had a
okay.
very thick British accent. And she was like, Karen, please just stay home. I said, Mom, you don't understand. I have to go. I felt compelled. We got to Griffith and we're waiting for the big caravan of cyclists to come our way. And sure enough, there he was.
Mitch.
And you.
Oh, and me.
And I was very excited. I had never met you in person.
Oh, yeah, right.
So the caravan comes by to take a quick break.
Yeah.
And I shook your hand. I said, hi, I'm Karen. I'm Mitch's sister. It was very quick. It was like, oh, thanks.
Gotta go.
Gotta go. We
Lansing
gotta
is
keep
calling.
going.
Yeah,
We gotta keep
right.
going. So we got on our bikes and we started pedaling. And it was around where the Griffith High School is. And Jerry kind of strode up right up to my left-hand side.
Like I did for everybody, kind of greeted them,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Welcome
yeah.
to the region
Welcome
ride.
to the
How you
region
doing?
ride. How
Thanks
you
very
doing?
much.
Thanks for joining.
And
Thanks
I
for-
asked Karen, how'd you get here? Right?
Yeah.
I said,
And
how'd you get here?
How'd you get here? And in that split second, a million thoughts went in my head. Like, wait a minute. He just saw that I was at my car.
So he knows how
So
I
he
got
knows
here.
how I got here.
Yeah.
Oh, he wants to know how I got in this part of my life.
Because that's a question that I would typically ask.
It would.
You think?
Yes.
Okay.
So I started telling him my life story. Like, I married young and then I got divorced. And Jerry had this very frightened look on his face, like, I'm trapped. Then the person next to me says, Karen, he just wants to know how you got to Griffith. And I said, oh, I nervously laughed. And I said, oh, I drove. I drove. And
do
Jerry
remember that.
said, yeah, I just wanted to know. Okay, thanks.
Thanks,
And he
bye.
just, boom, like
I
straight
did.
to the top of the pack. And we never spoke for the rest of the
Yeah,
ride.
my knees were sore. I was tired, but I kept pedaling anyway.
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
Like, I have
All
to
the way
get
to
away.
Lansing.
I have to get away from this woman. She's nuts.
No, I didn't think that. That's how we first met.
So yeah, that's how we first met, and I always love to tell people that I saw you first
I guess
because
you
I did.
I guess you did. And we circle back, and whenever we go for bike rides, we go back to the Griffith Trailhead. We go back to the exact spot that we met.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And we'll shake hands.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll kiss.
And now for a lovely waste of time. I was telling
Who?
Dawn, who
About-
does my hair, about your dad's
dad?
basement bar.
Oh my God, I forgot about that.
Can you tell our listeners and viewers about Joe Davich's basement bar?
Well, okay, so I was a kid, maybe I was early teens, I'm guessing. And my dad was kind of like a Sanford and Son of Gary, Indiana back in the day. Bop, 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 bop. And he's picking up junk stuff at alleys, and he'd bring it back in his pickup truck or whatever truck he had, and he'd haul it back to the house because he loved collecting old stuff. So he got this old bar. It was just like a half of a bar, and he put it in the basement somehow. We had it in the corner of the basement. This is 4513 Miller Avenue, Gary, Indiana, Glen Ryan subdivision, small little subdivision just east of U.S. Steel. Small little cracker box of a house, but we loved it. And in the basement, in the corner of this little house, was this bar that my dad got from an alleyway, I'm assuming.
Okay.
And it was all beat up, and it needed a paint job or some kind of covering. So instead of buying paint, which only losers do, obviously, because he had something much better to put on the bar instead of paint
Yeah.
or shellacking or whatever, varnish, he had Playboy magazines. Lots of them. And maybe some Penthouse and Hustlers. I'm guessing all the above. So he took the centerfolds out from all these magazines and he stapled it to the bar, all across the front of the bar, the top of the bar, the side of the bar. Guess how many of my friends came over to the house to visit me?
Every single one of them.
Pretty often. Jared, can we go in the basement, please? Let's just hang in the basement for a while.
Oh, your mom must have been
I
mortified.
have no idea how that worked out, how she dealt with that.
But
what the interaction was.
You know,
I grew up with that. That's
I
crazy.
get it. And not every house was like that.
It was
but
Gary
it
in
was
the 70s.
It was the 70s,
That's right.
you know.
It was a different time.
You've been listening to She Said, He Said with Karen and Jerry Davich, sponsored by Times Media Company and Lee Enterprises, and recorded at Creative Space in downtown Hobart. Find us at nwi.com and where you find all your podcasts.
If you enjoy our show, we hope you return with your own viewpoints about couples, relationships, and the subtle or not so subtle differences between spouses, mates, partners, and potential partners. We welcome your opinions, your experiences, and especially your love lessons.
Coming soon on She Said, He Said. Okay, and where were you born?
I was born in Lake County, probably Maryville.
Probably.
You don't remember where you were born?
No, I don't. Really? I mean,
Was it a farm?
I'm sure it was in a hospital somewhere in Lake County. I mean, probably Maryville.
Really?
Was there a hospital in Maryville?
Hello, 211. Is Jane there? Jane, where did you have Amy?
Amy
Thank you.
born?
Bye.
I think I was born. There's a rumor going around, and the word on the street is there's a new podcast in town, and it's She Said, He Said with Karen and Jerry Davich. Here's a sneak peek of what to expect.
Can I throw this out to be edited out?
Sure.
I just saw
That's our show.
Soylent Green.
Oh my God! You mean you just saw for the
It's
first
people.
time? Wait, for the first time?
Spoiler
My
alert.
God, Karen! What if our viewers did not see Soylent Green yet?
I'm sorry.
Kids, if you're going to see Soylent Green, don't watch it anymore. Good God, it's people. Soylent Green is people food.
I never saw it either.
It's crackers.
Well, that's the thing is
Not
it's
cracker,
the
crackers.
the biggest spoiler alert film of all time.
Yeah.
And because I already knew it going into it, I'm like, everybody knows that quote. They use it and they haven't seen the film.
Yeah, that's true.
Edward G. Robinson is in that film.
Yeah, that's right. He dies in the hospice situation. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.